Aloha, Charles.
Aloha Mel, how are you doing, brother? Long time see no long.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we are. Oh, oh, there we are. There we
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Okay, we are live. Let me get up
Aloha
my thing
everybody.
here.
Yes. Aloha,
Happy
aloha.
Hump Day! Happy Hump Day, everybody. Let's get a few minutes. I know we're usually on about 6:45. We're happy
Yeah.
you guys joining us tonight. Interesting topic tonight. One that has been requested by numerous people for us to have a show on this, and then Charlie was able to put all the state, not all the stakeholders, but the policymakers, I should say. He was able to round them all up and get them on one Zoom show or Facebook Live. We are being broadcasted live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So if you have any questions tonight, feel free to put them in the comments, and then we'll make sure you get your questions answered. But tonight is about peer-to-peer uh, operations, car
Mhm.
operations. You got Uber, you got Lyft, you got Turo, you got some that are not
Not
using
ready.
any established platforms, but are using Craigslist and buy and sell sites or pages and so forth. We want to try to get as much information out to you all so we know what's happening, what the rules are, and obviously have a discussion about all of those things. So, Charlie,
Yes. Well, first of all, mahalo, uh, brother Mel. It's always a pleasure to team up with you. But I know I've been busy lately. But thank you so much for holding down the village and getting to with all the villagers. And we like to say aloha no to everyone that's joining us tonight. This is an important topic because it affects everyone, and it can be doable, but there are rules involved, and I think that's where the misconception or some people feel that they're being targeted. But we're gonna explain everything so they get a full understanding. And tonight's guest, we have that we'll be bringing on, and we are very fortunate to have Mr. Ross Higashi, who's a deputy director, Airports Division. He's part of the DOT Airports Division. He's actually the airports director. And then we also have Bernard Cavallo, our former mayor, who's also a council member with the county council for Kauai. And then we will also be bringing on State Representative James Tokioka. The Lihui Airport does fall into his section. And then, of course, there's Mel and I believe we had Bruce Kaivi and Sue Kanoho, but prior commitment, Sue is not feeling 100%, but she is watching us. So get well, Sue. Get well. And then we also have Mr. Craig Davis, who should be joining us as the airport manager for the Lihui Airport. And if we also might be getting a guest pop in, Mr. Marvin Moniz from the island of Maui at the Kahului Airport, joining us because he's also facing the same predicament at their property as well. So we like to say aloha no. They're all on. Good evening, gentlemen. We've got Ross, Bernard, and Jimmy. And so thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining our little hale, as we call it, where our villagers all get together and we can share ideas, keep everyone in the know. That's what it's about. This is not about taking off after anybody, but just keeping everybody in the know, just giving the information out there. And like I've always said before, if it can work for you and if you can use it, fine. If it can't, wait for another episode when we have a different topic, right? And so that's how we would like to proceed. How you doing there, Jimmy?
I'm good, Charlie. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You and Mel do a great service for this island, and it reaches bigger than this island. We all know that. But when we were talking about, what was happening at the airport, I said, "Why reinvent the wheel? We can just do it. If we can, you would allow us to do it on your show. The broad reach that you have, people watch you folks every week, and we were able to connect with you, and I'm so grateful that you folks are helping us get the message out on what's happening at Lihui Airport. So, thank you for that, Charlie. We had with Charlie as well. We had about 5 meetings before we went public because we wanted to make sure that we're trying to do as many things as we can to make things right for everybody, including the rules at the airport. And I know Mr. Higashi will talk about that. Different locations that people may be, hosts may be able to park and and conduct a business there and shuttle people back and forth. The chairman of the county council's transportation committee, former Mayor Bernard Carvalho, will talk about something he's working on that could potentially help. So this is all good. This is really really good, and we just want to make sure from the beginning, Charlie, as you know,
Hmm.
um, what brought this to a head is that when peer-to-peer companies and individuals, because Charlie, you've been really good at finding some on Craigslist, were parking at the airport when local people were trying to go to Oahu or to the mainland and park in the parking lot. They couldn't find parking. So
Right.
this is what prompted all of this, and then we started to we reach out to the community for alternatives for parking, for transportation, and I think we did a good job trying to figure out what needs to be done, how to get that message out, and this is just the start of this tonight. So, thank everybody who has been a part of this. Ross, his team at Lihui Airport, with Craig and Bruce, Sue Kanoho, who, as we talked about, is not feeling well, but she was a big part of this from the beginning, and in fact, she prompted a lot of emails and conversation to my office when the email was sent out about parking at the airport, and so this is just going to be a great opportunity to do that, just get the message out. But thank you, Mel and Charlie, for allowing this to happen on your show.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm not sure where Ross. I think he turned off his video, but he'll be back. And
Oh,
I
there he
probably,
is.
Charlie, I'm gonna just turn this over to you in a minute, because we have a structure. Want to respect our guest time and want to make sure we get as much information out as possible. But I did want to say this. We normally don't have to do ground rules in our show because our show typically is go for it. But tonight I will. I'm gonna. This is not the forum to vent your frustrations and blah 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 blah. We are not an anti-Turo, anti-peer-to-peer. This is not an anti-peer-to-peer show. This is a show that is simply here, and I appreciate all of you taking the time to be here tonight. All of our guests that have busy schedules, to go out and share the information of what is happening right now and how we can accommodate. I support all of these peer-to-peer networks because it provides our local people an opportunity to have a business and keep the money here in Hawaii. So um, I'm excited to hear tonight. Again, usually I'm the guy doing most of the talking, but tonight I'm going to be monitoring comments and questions, Charlie. So with that, I will turn it over to you. It looks like we got Craig. Craig popped in, so I'll bring Craig in. And all right, Charles.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you to all of our viewers tonight for joining us here on the Mel and Charlie Show. And again, we have the Director of Airports Division, Mr. Rossi Gashi. We also have Council Member Bernard Cavallo, State Representative Jimmy Tokioka, as well as Airport Manager, Director himself for the Lihui Airport, Mr. Craig Davis. So let us begin by what prompted all of this. And I think the tipping point came during our break a couple months ago when it was broadcasted on mainstream media, Hawaii News Now, and alike, KHO and 2 News, where um, they did a snippet of the Lihui Airport and the parking lot just being completely full, and people were getting turned away because there was no parking. Well, the majority of the cars that was already inside the parking lot happened to be vehicles participating in a peer-to-peer type operation, and that's when individuals will go online, find a good deal, and they're being directed to go into the parking lot to get these cars. But that's when we started to observe the I don't know if you want to call it an illegality, but there are rules that prohibit that kind of activity. So it was brought up with Mr. Higashi as well as the airport managers of some of the actions that we have to take, because there are rules in place which we have been actively going forward with. Since that time, we have engaged in finding remedies, trying to find ways, because we understand all they're trying to do is, do a business, but we have to do the business right. And so we suggested off-site locations, and many have taken our suggestions and have moved in that direction. But there are still those that want to fly under the radar, and we're still catching them. And so, we wanted to get that information out to all of you, that those kind of things, cannot be allowed, because it goes totally against what the whole airport and all of its locations within the airport is meant for, and that is for the traveler, especially local residents who decides to park their car and leave to go, like, to the mainland or to another island. But not having any space available makes things hard. So I want to start from there, and I kind of would like to turn it over to Mr. Rossi Gashi from the State Department of Transportation Airports Division, where he can give us some idea of the rules involved with the Hawaii administrative rules. So Ross, welcome, Ross.
And thank you. And before I go over the rules, I just want to let everyone know that we're here to make sure that both the public and Turo or peer-to-peer, the rental car companies do have, a say in what we do at the airport. But in observing the situation, there is a permit in the rules and regulations, and I'm gonna share that with you guys really quick, if you folks don't mind. So if you go quickly to our airports division, and we can share this with you after the show.
Hmm.
Basically, can you folks see what I have on the screen? Yes. No?
Okay, it's coming up now. Yes.
Okay, so the first step is to basically, for peer-to-peer rental cars, they would fall under a ground transportation permit, and they would fall under off-airport rental car, and that would be the best thing for any business to do. Basically, you would have a shuttle car or a bus that picks up your customers and takes the customers to an off-site location. So at that location, that is where the business would be conducted. It would relieve the parking issue that we have. It would also relieve the congestion issue that we have. I did want to mention that we have approximately 400 stalls, and during the spring break, I believe somewhere between 50 to 100 cars per day were peer-to-peer. So it didn't help the public. I could see where you need to get to Honolulu to go to some kind of maybe a medical procedure, and you have to turn around and come back and take the taxi back to the airport and miss your flight. So anyway, I just want to go through the permits. And so if you go to our website, here's the permit application, and it doesn't take that long. And, basically a lot of them would probably be sole proprietor. And of course, you're going to have to provide some information like your general excise tax certificate. I don't believe PUC would apply, tax clearance. And then here you would have to list down your vehicle, your courtesy vehicle, which may be a van or a large car that will take your customers to and from the airport, and then the cars in your fleet. And here's the nice part. The fees are very minimal. The administrative fee per year, it's an annual administrative fee for a company or a sole proprietorship is $100. And then on this line here where it says annual courtesy vehicle, it'd be $250 per year. And then the line right above is the annual vehicle fee. That would be $20 per vehicle in your fleet. And every year when you renew your permit, it would be $20 per vehicle in your fleet as of October 1st of that specific year. So it's pretty simple. You fill it out, turn it in, send it over to Craig Davis, in this case for Lihue Airport. And then there's just one more thing that you're going to have to do. Well, here, I want to share with you the fees. So these are all off-site. So you would look here at the off-airport right here under 8B. So there's the $100 administrative fee, the $250 per courtesy vehicle, and the $20 per vehicle in your fleet. The other thing that you would have to do is provide a certificate of insurance, which is also on our website. So I didn't want to take too long on these rules, but this is what it takes to run an off-airport rent-a-car business, and that is what we feel would be best the Lihue Airport. In fact, for any airport at our in our airport system. And what I wanted to stress was that we're an airport government airport. The parking is not to be used for private activity is specified in the HRS as well, Hawaii Revised Statute. So everything is in the website that we have. So Mel and Charlie, later on, I'll share that website. And if viewers want to get the link so that they can get to this website, it'll be really easy for them to apply for a permit.
Okay, thank you very much there, Ross.
Stop sharing and let me know when it stops sharing so that it's no longer.
You're good.
Okay.
You're good. Yeah. Okay. Mel, you have any questions thus far, Mel, from any of the viewers out there? So what happens when we complete this application? And anybody, Ross, you want to take that question?
Yeah, once you complete the application, you turn it into the airport district, which would be the Kauai or the Lihue district, and they'll process it. They'll make sure that you have all the right certificates, the general excise, and especially your certificate of insurance. They'll double check all that, and they'll give you a call to say that you now can come out and pick up your permit, your sticker that you have to affix to your car. Correct me if I'm wrong, Craig. That's what your procedures are, right? Craig Davis?
Yes, that's correct, Ross. Yeah, we're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the Lihue Airport Administration offices. We're on the third floor, just above the American Airlines ticket counter.
Okay, perfect.
Let me just run through this. I want to get as many of these as we can. How long is the processing time typically, if all required documents are in order?
Craig, I'll let you answer that.
Yes, once all the documents required are turned in and they're accurate and current, we could turn it around in 1 or 2 days. But typically, it takes about a week because we work with the folks who didn't realize they needed certain documents. But within a week, we should be able to get it. But if they bring all the documents in, we could turn it around the same day or within 2 days.
And this next question up on the screen is, I think it's an important one because I didn't want anyone to be misled by what was just presented regarding this permit. So the question is, does this permit allow for parking at the airport or just picking up a customer at curbside? I can let either Ross or Craig answer that, but it's kind of twofold. The question is twofold because there's answers for both of those within that question. So whoever wants to take that, Ross or Craig?
I can take that. It's pretty it's for pickup and drop off at the airport.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You can't park in the parking lot, the airport parking lot. Again, under the Hawaii Revised Statutes and our Hawaii administrative rules, parking in the airport parking lot is not allowed.
Okay.
Last question.
Charlie,
Last question.
Craig.
Yes. If
I can jump in
Go ahead.
and add to Rob's
Last question
comment.
I'm sorry.
Wait. Go ahead, Craig.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the off-airport rental car permit that we're speaking of, it allows the company to pick up and drop off their passengers, customers, with a courtesy vehicle, courtesy shuttle or vehicle, and the rental car or shuttle is adjacent to the curbside because we don't want all the folks clogging up the curbside that are meant for actual passengers and their family and friends. But that's designated to the rental car shuttle pickup lane, which is basically across the street from the curbside. And then they conduct their business off airport.
So just to clear one thing up and to add on to what Craig Davis just said, folks out there, if you're wondering where your respective airports designate the drop-off and pickup, you have to check with your airports because what Mr. Davis just mentioned is for the Lihui Airport. I know that the Kahului Airport has a different location, as well as the Hilo and Kona airports, and Honolulu as well. So double check with your airport if this is something that you're interested in, to determine where the drop off as well as the pickups are located. Okay. So another question is commercial insurance required? Is commercial insurance required, gentlemen?
So you just need to fill out the certificate of insurance. It's not necessarily commercial. So you just got to fill out that certificate of insurance. It depends on the type of business that you have. You may be a sole proprietor. You may be part of a commercial business.
Hmm.
Now, real quick, on the certificate of insurance, do you have to list the state of Hawaii as an additional insured?
Craig, can you answer that one?
I believe so. I believe all of our permits request that the airport's additionally insured.
Okay. So, I mean, I would suspect that any insurance company would require you to have a commercial, but that's something you got to deal with your insurance company on. And perfect. Thank you. There's someone that said, and I appreciate the questions, folks. And I apologize if I'm not going to be able to get them all because we are on a time limit here. We have some time restrictions. Mike is saying we were told by Turo that they filed for the permit and they were denied. Any information on that by anyone?
Well, maybe I can answer that because we have been engaged with Turo, and they fully understand. We talked to, I believe, right, Jimmy, correct me if I misstate her name, but Melissa Pavlik, who represents Turo.
Pavlicek.
Pavlicek, right? And so we're in constant I mean, all of us have been in constant dialogue with her, and she has been very instrumental in trying to those participating in that share ride program to do take the business outside of the airport parking lot and not clutter.
Yes. So, I know there's a lot of people watching the show, Mel and Charlie, tonight. And I will say, I don't know how many people are Turo hosts, but Turo, of all of the peer-to-peer rideshare companies that are happening on Kauai, has been the most responsible. I know that some of the hosts have rented spaces from areas around the airport. I know my understanding that there's a host that's renting in between Walmart and Hilo Hattie's, one of the storage places by Nawili Willie. Grove Farm is trying to work with other hosts in and around their property. I know Kukui Grove is working with the actual representatives from the Turo, and hopefully they can come up with a solution as far as transportation back and forth. And I know former Mayor Cavalli is going to talk about something that he's working on regarding the people that have 1 and 2 cars, not the people that have 20, 10, or 40 cars, because they need to find a bigger space. But Mayor Cavalli will talk about that. But on that subject as well, it's come to our attention that people are parking at Kukui Grove and at Walmart. And it's obvious. People are like, how do they know? Well, when people show up with suitcases and they roll into the parking lot, that's an issue that Walmart and Kukui Grove are going to be monitoring. And the last thing we'd want is somebody's car to get towed, but it's private property. Kukui Grove and Walmart and anywhere else around the island is a public place of shopping or anything like that. People, as Charlie knows, people have been parking at FedEx. They've been parking at Aloha Airlines parking lot at some of the helicopter companies. And we just need to explain to everybody that, the state, everybody wants to try to help people as much as possible. But as you can understand, there are rules, and we cannot just let people park wherever they want and let the guests walk to wherever it is. People are even parking at Lihui Stadium. and people are walking over there. So then now the county is going to get involved with that. Like, should people be parking there? And some people might say, well, why not? Because there's liability, there's all of these things that are involved in that. And none of us, including Mayor Kawakami, Councilmember Carvalho, Mike McCartney, the Director of Economic Development, or Ross, the Director of the airports, want to we're not trying to stop people from doing this type of business. We just have to make sure that everybody follows the rules. And I will say that the companies or the hosts from Turo have been the most responsible. They really have. I know that Charlie has been working with at the parking lot, seeing that people that are on Craigslist are parking in the parking lot, and this is they're getting caught. And you can see, because they're on Craigslist and they're renting the cars, and they're parking them in the airport. Some people are washing their car in the airport. And so we want to try to help as much as possible, but there are rules. So we just have to make sure that those things happen. It's something that we just have to find the right mix of how to do it. As I said, Kukui Grove, Melissa McFadden is working with a representative from Turo, and that could be the option. And so hopefully, we can figure out the transportation. There may be different forms of it. And I think, Charlie, if you don't mind, I can have Councilmember Carvalho share what he's doing on the taxi part of this.
Aloha. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you, Rep. Tokioka, and of course, Brother Charlie, Brother Mel. Yeah, so the taxi portion of this discussion was brought to my attention as the transportation chair, and I've been working with the taxi cab drivers. And interestingly enough, when I spoke with Rep. Tokioka, we're all kind of aligning in the right direction. So bottom line was their concern for, with all the rising prices of gas and this and that, and wanting to kind of balance everything out. And they came in with a large list, and I said, no, give me the top 4. And so I just want to share where we're at with the taxi cab drivers, who is part of this discussion as far as transportation is concerned. And I think one of the bigger questions for me was, would they participate in shorter trips in this discussion? And so interestingly enough, after we went and vetted out the 4 areas, number one, very simple stuff. I just want to share this. They're very concerned about, as taxi cab drivers, displaying their personal information, namely their addresses. I'm just sharing it to you folks what was part of the discussion. They're very important to them. And I work closely with our council side, of course, and with administration and finance and our attorney's office. And so we're able to work with that and have that be part of, working it through, not having it on display. It's number one. Number 2 was to renew every year their taxi driving permit. And they do it here, of course, at DMV. And so that's working on that as well. But the big one was to institute a $20 minimum fee within a 4-mile area. And so that was another one that was put on the table. And so we're working on all this stuff, which is coming to the council floor, maybe in July. And then the 4th one, it would be the initial meter actuation part. It's currently $3.50 and would go to $4. So I wanted to kind of share that part we're working on. And the question is, if this goes through, will it also include shorter trips? And the answer is yes. You can go from wherever you want, and this will be another opportunity for transportation. So I believe, after working through some of these areas with the fees and looking at what I'm hearing from the taxi cab drivers on the island, and having to deal with a lot of the raising costs of gas and all of that, that was some of the stuff that brought to my attention. But at the same time, offering another mode of transportation and supporting the other discussion areas that we're talking about, I think we're all in the right discussion or area. So again, as far as the fee, there's a minimal fee, and then raising it from $3.50 to $4. Anything after 4 miles, you're going to $4. So anyway, that was part of the discussion. And yes, it would also include offering opportunities for the short distances that would tie right into what we're talking about. So that's kind of like the overall right now, working with the taxi cab drivers and looking forward to more discussion. If you have any questions, I'm ready.
Right. Oh, Ross, whenever they turn off their camera, they go off the screen, but he'll be on. He'll be on.
There he goes.
Yeah, I mean, the taxi cabs at Niue Airport, they got to wait in line, and it's really not fair for them to get up there and get a little short run. So I would assume you got to incentivize that. So because some of these guys got to wait a long time for a fare. I think they're a lot more busy now. This question is coming up quite often, and it's going. Listen, guys, you guys want your question asked? Be polite, okay? We don't need sarcastic comments in the comments because I'm just not gonna put your question. All right? We have people talking. Be patient. We'll get to as many other questions as we can. But this one question that keeps and it comes up a lot, especially on social media. And it's, what about the other companies parking in airport parking, like construction trucks, solar companies? Why are they allowed? These people are traveling. That's the difference. These people are traveling and they're going to another island, whether it could be for work, could be for business. But what's the airport's position on allowing commercial vehicles in their lot? They're not operating a business out of the airport, but they're parking their commercial vehicles. So what's the airport's or the state's position on that?
I can take that question. So again, go back to the Hawaii revised statutes, Hawaii administrative rules. Again, there should be no conducting of business, private business in the airport parking lot. So when you have a handoff of keys or leaving your keys in a car and somebody comes and picks up your car and you're charging them, one of the things that we've noticed is where sometimes at the parking booth, the traveler would say, how come I owe $60? Well, the car was there for 3 days, and we have a tracking system that inventories cars, so they know when the car came in and when the car is leaving. So again, we know already, and then the next thing is, oh, who are you with? I'm with XYZ. I'm renting this from XYZ company. So again, no private business in the airport parking lot.
Yeah, I also like to,
Go ahead, Charlie.
touch up on that. So those out there that's watching, what happens is most of the times, the security gets called because there's a disagreement with the, and so usually I'll go over and I'll say, you need to take this up with the person that you rented the car from. They can take it off your bill, however way, but it is not the vendor or the contractor who has the operations to manage the parking lot. They're just going, the workers are just going by the fact that you don't have a ticket, this is the fee. And so a lot of times they get caught in the middle. And so just the other day, as I'm going in, I hear this discussion going on. I go, oh. So I go there, I tell the gentleman, please, you need to settle down because this worker is just a worker. They have no control over that. You don't have a ticket. Well, I rented the car and, I got to take the car out. I said, well, you need to pay the fee.
Mm-hmm.
You need to then contact the person that you rented this car from. Now, did this person tell you the car was going to be in this parking lot, right? Yes. Do you happen to have the contract on your phone? Yes. That's when I already knew that was a commercial operation right there, a prohibited activity. So I have that person's name down. So what we are doing, I'm going to let the folks know right now. We see that, we can prove that there's an activity, they'll get cited. Also, their license plates and information will be forwarded to the Attorney General's office. Because again, this is government property. And people have said that, oh man, I didn't know it was going to get this serious. We've been getting letters to cease and desist. Well, we're sorry. We following the rules too, and that's part of the enforcement. So I want people out there to understand that sometimes it's painful to see these things happening, but that's why the show is being done tonight, so we can forewarn everybody. There's a right way of doing things, and then there's a wrong way of doing things, and there are consequences.
Charlie,
Yes,
I would like you. There's one that just popped up. I don't know if it'll fit on the screen. I'm going to put it up and I'll read it
sure.
if it cuts off. It says, when the airport in Lihue first let us know that Turo was being removed, the officer I talked to on site said we could take our guests to the airport at the end of their trip. I would like to know without doubt, is this a true statement? No one seems to know the answer.
I talked to an on-site, said we could take our guests to the airport
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah, in
I
other
don't.
words, in other words, at the end of the rental, wherever
Yep.
this person drops off the car off-site, is the peer-to-peer operator able to drop the passenger? The rental is done. The rental is done. They've cleared it. Now the operator is driving the passenger, or the passenger, or the person back to the airport. Is that okay?
Well, I'll defer that to either Ross or.
Well, you can drop off. The problem is picking up. You can't pick
Right.
up from the airport,
Yeah.
so you can drop off. That's not a problem.
Yeah, because I'm assuming at the end, when I'm done and I've paid the person for the rental, I'm POW. I'm done. The car has been returned. Now the operator would be able to drive me back to the airport.
Right, the courtesy vehicle. Correct.
Okay, well, there you have it. You heard the answer. Sometimes you just got to ask the right people. So I appreciate, again, you guys being here.
Mel, there's also this thing where, and it happened many times. The visitor, and please, I'm not trying to paint them really really bad, because they just want a mode of transportation. When their travel is done, their vested interest is over. So when there's no parking spaces in the parking lot, they've actually parked at the exit lane on Ahukini. They park them right in the bushes. So then we get stuck with all that traffic. So we got to call the toll, and we got to take it out. And when these individuals return the car to the parking lot, especially if they're in a rush, they park out of space, and next thing you know, they're blocking the fire lanes in the parking lot. So then we got to call a toll, because now the condition is unsafe inside the parking lot. It depends on their rental, who they rented it from. They're told, oh, you got to return the vehicle cleaned, like the way you picked it up, right? So a lot of them go to the beach right before they take a trip. Next thing you know, they got those inflatable tubes. They take them out and they stuff them in the rubbish can. So now the airport housekeeping department, they got to go through the rubbish cans and clean all that up. It's a lot of trash. It mounts up. So the question is, who pays for all of that? The taxpayers, the state. It was unforeseen, but now we got all of those things happening because there is no rules. They don't want to follow rules, and so it causes these kind of problems. Some may think that that's so minute, yeah, but it adds up over a period of time, and then who gets stuck with it? The first person they call, security or airport law enforcement. We got problems going on in the parking lot.
Yeah, I'm seeing. I need to clarify this because I see a lot of people are asking again. Dropping off after the rental is complete is fine. You don't have to be a permitted vehicle, but picking up, courtesy shuttle, picking up from the airport requires a permit. Okay.
Yes.
That's why we wanted to do the show, because this is the official word. Okay, so there it is. Appreciate you guys asking the questions, and if you guys have any after the show is done, or if something pops, or you don't want to put it up on the screen, send me a message. I'll make sure that your question gets sent to the right person and that it gets answered Can you drop off the renters after their completed trip in the rental car that they rented from you? Yes, you can. Once the rental is complete, they no longer are. You can drop them off in whatever car you want. All right. Okay.
Mel and
Yes,
Charlie,
sir.
I wanted
Yeah.
to add something I forgot to mention earlier. Um, the old Aloha Furniture site, Rich and his son Jet purchased that building. And unbeknownst to me, underneath that building is a garage. And in that garage, he can probably accommodate 30 vehicles in that garage under there. So they are actively seeking people who want to store their cars there. They have a place to wash their cars over there. So Rich Jasper, if anybody knows who he is, or if you just want to go stop by over there and talk to him, they if you go down in between the service station and the Hui Missionary Church on that road, and you take a left, it's unbelievable how big that garage is underneath Aloha Furniture, and he's looking to rent it out. So whether it's short term, long term, whatever it is, he's looking at trying to help this situation right now. So that is another option. I forgot to mention when I was talking earlier. But yes, this thing about dropping off clears up a lot of the questions I think that people have. But you just cannot conduct the business at the parking lot. And I know Mr. Higashi, when he came to Kauai, he was standing at the curbside, and people were exchanging cars and keys, and right at the curbside. So that is not allowed. But on the drop off, you can do that, and that's why we're trying to find alternative pickups, whether it's the taxi service. And thank you, Mayor Carvalho, for working on that with the taxi companies and shuttle companies. I know for a fact that there are representatives from Turo and from Grove Farm who are actually working on shuttle services. I know some of the people who have a lot of cars have their own shuttles. So we're trying to do the best we can to help, because quite honestly, when there was a rental car shortage, as we all know, a lot of the people that are watching this that are renting cars, it's because the rental car companies, the cars all left when there was no business here. Tourists weren't coming here. So because of the chip shortage and other things, they're not filling up their fleet yet. So we appreciate what everybody's doing for Turo. But again, as we've mentioned from the beginning, there are rules, and we can't let the rules go by the wayside for picking up. And that's why we're letting everybody know what the options are. And I think there are fair options out there that it's just going to have to, people are just going to have to go through procedures. And that's why we have this meeting tonight.
Okay.
One more thing real quick. I know there are some business owners here that are on the show that are offering spots like the furniture place. So if you are a provider of lot space for peer-to-peer operators, feel free to post your information in the comments. This is free plugs for you folks. Kaula Okalani Potts, I know you're on. Go ahead and post your contact information, website, whatever you get. We are here to help make this industry thrive for our local residents. I think people got to understand that we want to make sure our local residents can go out there and make money in a legal way, and that money stays here on Kauai. So we want to make sure. So if you are a lot provider, please go ahead and post your information in the comments, and because we have a lot of operators watching tonight and will be watching in the next few weeks. There's a question from Scott, and this one I'll take because it says sometimes guests don't believe the rules about parking in the airport. What happens in a situation a guest goes against the rules and drops the vehicle at the airport against your agreement? Does the host still get the fine? Yes. Listen, when you write up your contracts, it's like when you rent a car, and they specifically tell you no off-roading. You cannot go to Polehale. You cannot go off-road. You cannot go off the paved road. If you do, they will whack you with a $500 fee after you return the car. If your car breaks down, they're going to whack you. It's in the contract, and you whack the credit card. So you as the operator, that's your business. That's your company. You need to make sure that is clear with your renters, that when they're done, that car is to go back to where it needs to go back to, and if it's not, you charge them, and they sign the agreement, and you just made yourself $500 because they decided to go park. That'll pay for your ticket and give you a few extra bucks. All right. Hope I answered your question.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
we kind of knew, Mel. We kind of knew with this subject tonight, as we so graciously agreed to host it. There going to be some controversy, but it's good. It's a healthy discussion topic because it's going to continue, and like anything else, people want a definitive answer, right? Well, in business, there's rules that we rely on, so there's no chaos, right? And it's just sometimes people will see red while others will see white. So we just got to make it perfectly clear tonight that this is the playbook we're going by, and hopefully, it gets the message out that we're not trying to be the Okoles and try to take off after people just for no reason. And again, ladies and gentlemen, all of this started when there just was no parking, and then when we went in there and discovered there's like 100 to 150 vehicles that were being rented, and how we knew, because this is what happened, and I've got to share this because in the inception of this type of peer-to-peer, those who are getting involved, a lot of them bought white Jeeps, and just so happened all the white Jeeps were parked in the same place. These people come off the plane, they go pick up one white Jeep because the key is in a white Jeep. Well, lo and behold, the owner of the white Jeep that was taken said, "Hey, my vehicle got stolen." We were making reports left and right for stolen vehicles. Come to find out, everybody was taking one white Jeep, and it happened over and over again. So that kind of stuff really, it really caused a lot of problems. So all we're trying to do is trying to make sure that these things can happen. And yeah, and another thing, if a person who rents a car from the parking lot and doesn't return it properly, the first thing they'll say is, "Hey, I returned the car." Okay, but the person's already in the mainland. Guess what happens? Police got to be called in because now we got a stolen vehicle. Is the vehicle stolen, or was the car just not brought back to the parking lot and parked someplace else? There's so many unanswered questions when those kind of things happen. Okay,
Hey,
Brother Mel?
real
Yeah.
quick, I just want to post Anwar Ali Mahalo for sharing this. Turo does have an option to charge an improper return fee in case a guest does violate the agreement. So there you have it. Again, I don't participate in peer-to-peer except I drive for Uber and Lyft, and we follow all the rules. In fact, I posted today when I started driving Uber and Lyft, we couldn't even go to the airport. It was not even allowed at the airport. But we have a lot of peer-to-peer car rental people that are not on a organized platform like Turo. They're doing it backyard style on all these Facebook sites or pages, and those are the ones that don't. You got to create your own contracts. You got to go out and do all of these things on your own to protect yourself legally. Why not just jump on the Turo platform, and Turo can work with these fine gentlemen that we have here tonight. So as we move forward, we can really make this a win-win for everybody involved. So that's all I'll say there. Let me get Bernard had to leave. He will be back, so we'll take him off. Ross, real quick question. Where did Ross go? Is he still here? Oh,
Yeah,
Ross
he was
went
there.
too. He left. He pressed the
Right.
wrong button. Charlie, maybe or maybe
Yep.
Jimmy. Is this issue? I just saw a post from someone on from the Big Island that this is happening on Big Island as well. That it's actually the airport on a Big Island apparently has no enforcement, so it's
Yeah,
rough.
I can take that question, Mel. And Charlie has been on the meetings, and 4 of the meetings that we've had. Mr. Roshigashi has said that what we were doing was the first in the state to try to get everybody together, because we knew how popular Turo was and how helpful Turo was on Kauai. But what was happening at the airport couldn't happen. So what this is doing is creating the model for everybody else in the state. And so then from there, Ross will deal with the airport managers at Daniel K. Inouye Airport, Kahului Airport, Hilo, and Kona. So this is part of what they're going to use as far as the model to make sure that things like this don't happen on the other islands. And we know they're happening. Ross knows it's happening. So fortunately, as we do on Kauai, we try to get everybody together to come up with solutions. And hopefully, we like you said, Mel, with Uber and Lyft, it's gonna things are gonna change and things are gonna get better because we know how important it is. One of the comments I saw about how helpful the peer-to-peer and Turo has been, and some of the things that we talked about, it's not like a vacation rental. And Mel, you know this story really, really well. Vacation rentals, not many local people can afford a vacation rental, and you're charging $1,000 a night for it. But obviously, a lot of local people can get one car or two cars or however many cars and help support their families, and this is absolutely fine. But there are rules, and I should also mention, in full disclosure, my daughter runs a Turo, so I know exactly what's happening, and she knows exactly how the car needs to be, what has to be picked up, and how it has to be dropped off, and all of that. So I do know it's a valuable resource for the industry on Kauai. So thank you guys again for allowing this. And I'm looking at the questions. People are thankful that they understand now what they need to do, and all of the questions that they have been answered to for the most part.
Well, I appreciate you guys offering to come on. Charlie can appreciate this. He was a cop before, and all cops, any cop, any investigator, cannot wait to find that person called somebody. There's this person that lurks around every day. We've all heard of them. When you ask somebody, who told you that? Oh, somebody told me this. Oh, somebody told me that. Oh, yeah, somebody just told me. But we can never find somebody. And this platform tonight, this forum tonight, this is where the buck stops. You got the representative, we had the council member, we got Charlie, who's in charge of the Kauai airport, and Ross, who's in charge of the state Department of Transportation Airports Division. So this is where the buck stops, and I appreciate the questions coming in. I also appreciate the politeness as the questions come through, because I cannot answer these questions. And the one thing that I did want to cover, because and I actually saw it on the sheet, was what happens, Charlie or Ross. What happens when a violation has occurred at the airport parking lot? Whether it doesn't matter which company or who, you guys determine that car is a commercial, or is operating a commercial business within the airport parking lot. They get a citation. What happens after that? And whoever can take that.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Let me unmute there. So, sure. First of all, the untold story, what people don't know, is before we cite any vehicles, they've been warned numerous times, and reports are made. Ex operator, we take pictures of their license, the vehicle license plate, that when they're caught in the act of doing something for the first time, we've airport management has asked that we want to be good neighbors, and we want to try to explain to them that there are rules. So many times we have issued multiple warnings that you cannot be doing this. It's when they've been told two, three times and they're still doing it. Then I said, I guess the you taking you taking advantage of my kindness. You're not listening to me, and so that's when they get popped with on citation. So once they're given a citation, they got two alternatives. They can either pay the fine, or they can go and contest the ticket. I make sure, and Mel, I've said this many times before. I will make sure and check if any contested ticket comes up, because then I have to prepare my personnel who issued that citation. Hey, your ticket going to get contested. Get your report ready. You're going to have to testify. That's why the state commissions each of the security personnel and law enforcement that they have the powers to issue the citation. Not anybody can grab a citation book and go give one citation because there's penalties involved, and everyone needs to know what they're doing. They need to know the exact section, because when they don't process the right section, then all the affidavits have to come through, meaning we have to void the ticket. So an affidavit has to be signed by that officer. Why was it incorrect? Why was it done incorrectly? Wrong section was used. That type of thing. So we want to make sure that everyone understands, when you get a citation, you have the right to contest it if you don't want to pay. There are some sections that doesn't even have a fine attached to it. What that tells you is that you have no choice. You have to show up in court. And it states it right there on the citation. So you'll see the officer may use the letter CRT. That means court. And it'll give you a date when you got to appear in court. So I hope that answered that question there, Mel.
Yep, sure did.
Okay.
I just want to, if you guys don't mind, can I run through some of the questions? I want to try to catch as much. I don't know when we'll ever have this esteemed panel again. I use a lockbox for my keys on a personal vehicle when I travel. I've been told my car will be towed. Is this true?
No.
I would assume
That-
you got to prove the operation, right? The business operation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if your car get towed with your lockbox, your personal lockbox, your personal vehicle, you can send a bill to Charlie Iona.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, yeah, we still can have fun on this show too. All right. This one is going to be for Ross, and I don't know if Charlie warned you, but we don't script, we don't censor, we don't, this is live and on fire. So I'm going to ask you this question. I think it's a great discussion to have. Question: the shuttle permit process is very difficult to acquire for the average tour host. Is there a potential to allow tour operators to pick up their guests like an Uber or Lyft driver? In my opinion, it wouldn't increase the traffic since tour operators are relying on Uber and Lyft drivers as it is today. So that's a good discussion, even for Jimmy as a legislator. The question is, right now, passenger comes in, he calls a Uber or he calls a Lyft or he calls a cab. The car comes up, picks him up, takes him to the Uber site. I mean the peer-to-peer site. The question is there a possibility that we can consider allowing tour drivers to be able to pick up and drop off without getting the permit? Not parking in the airport, but picking up and dropping off. Is that something that the state would consider?
Okay, yeah, so I can answer that. I mean, the answer to that question, Mel, is yes, through via legislation, but that's going to take a while. And then all of the different things that come up as far as fees and the cost of what that's going to be has to be put into consideration. And that was like some of the comments that I read earlier. It's not going to be overnight. And Ross, I don't know if you were on when we were talking about this, but there was a question about what was happening at Hilo Airport and other airports throughout the state. And we talked about this being a template or a model, Kauai being a model. So do you want to add to the question about legislation for Turo or via rules? Like, in the beginning of Uber and Lyft, right, Ross, there was no pickup site, and then it morphed into a different model. So you want to touch on that, Ross?
Yeah, I can answer that question. So at every airport, you got like a taxi area of pickup, or you have Uber Lyft area on the curb. So if you want to pick up and take that short trip, and I think Councilman Carvalho touched upon that, it would be like a short trip, because I would think that the site that is off-site would be more or less close to the airport. So if you want to use Uber Lyft, or you want to use a taxi to get to your destination, we can't control that. So long they have a taxi permit, or they have the Uber Lyft, they're registered with the, I would call it the TNC company, Transportation Network Company. Does that answer your question?
Well, I think the question was, would the state be open to allowing the, uh, the operator to pick up the
So
passenger and
yeah, so
not,
that's what
not
that's sorry, Mel. That's why I mentioned, Ross, that technically, yes, it could be done via administrative rules or it could be done via a legislative process. But that would have to take into consideration everything that happens at the airport, and all of that. And like I said again, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a long, arduous process.
Yeah. So just a little bit history for the TNC permit that was, I guess, revised in our Hawaii administrative rules. That took about a year, a little over a year, to get in there. So it does take a while if we do go there. You have to go to hearing and small business hearings and so forth.
okay. All
So
right.
one
Okay.
one of the things, in touching on that, from a security standpoint that we've been tasked with, we have Ubers, Lyfts, taxis, shuttle service. They all participate. They all pay their fees to the
Mhm.
state. What we are mindful of, because there are a set of rules that they all play by, and they all understand what those rules are. There are also those individuals who poach. They'll come in and they know that when they see somebody curbside just waiting around, they'll come by and say, "Hey, are you looking for a ride?" That is not allowed, because most of the pickups are prearranged. It's done before the person even jumps on a plane to come to your island. They've already made arrangements for transportation. That's prearranged. But then you'll have those that will come, but then they'll go to a designated area where they have a taxi phone, and they'll call a taxi dispatcher, and a taxi dispatcher will be sent to their location to pick them up. But then there are individuals who you don't see any type of, whether it's PUC permit or anything on their bumpers, and they're just poaching. They're just going around like sharks looking for a fare. Okay. Now it's not fair that they grab someone because someone is impatient. They want to get to their destination, but they also made arrangement. Say they're going out to Princeville. They made arrangements for somebody to take them up there, and many times we get those taxi guys say, "Hey, I got a call for Princeville. Where's my ride?" Oh, they left with somebody else. That's what happens. And so next thing you know, there's this big dissension going on, and we gotta try to step in before anything gets out of hand, because we do have a lot of those. We call them poachers. They're coming around. They're not part of the prearranged process.
Mhm.
I know Steve has been asking this question a few times. Why not sell long-term passes to people and just limit how many passes sold? I think, Steve, the problem at the Lihue Airport anyway is the capacity. That's the problem. And it's not about the availability of it's all about availability of stalls for the general public who needs to use the airport. And that is why these companies that are providing these lots are very, very useful and helpful, and we appreciate that. So we are at the top of the hour. I always want to respect our guest time. I know that there were a lot of questions. I hope this was beneficial. I do want to give you all an opportunity to share some closing comments before we sign off. Um, Ross, anything that you want to share, my friend? I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's not often we get people of your stature on our show.
Not a problem at all. I'm here to help. And for how I look at it is the parking lot is an airport parking lot is for passengers that are going to go onto a plane and go to either the neighbor island or to domestic destination. And so having the parking lot for that purpose and not to conduct private business in an airport parking lot is the mission. It's difficult, but I want to commend Charlie and Allied Security. They're doing a good job in terms of um, meeting that expectation to try to hold off as many tour or not tour, I shouldn't say that, but peer-to-peer type businesses conducting private business in the parking lot. So I just hope that everybody cooperates, and communication is key. So tonight, the mission was to share the administrative rule where you can apply for a a permit, or if you can, somebody else has a business out there, you can be part of their business, and your car would be listed wherever this private business or parking lot is. So again, we're doing this for the community as far as making sure that there's the congestion off the roadways near the airport, um, using a shuttle instead of many cars coming in and out, and again, to decongest or to make sure that the parking lot is for the traveling passenger. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Tokioka.
Once again, Mel and Charlie, thank you. I'm looking at the comments, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to answer some of the questions that many people on Kauai that are um, using this opportunity to make additional money, and being able to afford a car to do this. It helps everybody to understand what needs to be done by putting the permit forward. I just wanted to respond to one of the questions that came up here about, does this new parking lot include Turo? Um, I would just say that the rental car companies pay a facility charge fee, and that fee is incredibly high. So a lot of what tour operators don't see is what the rental car companies have to pay, the additional taxes that they pay, the rental car facility charge that they have to pay. So that, as Ross knows, that facility, the rental car facility, is not going to include anything from Turo. And I don't know that anybody that rents a Turo wants to pay that fee because it's not cheap. So this is just to respond to that. But Mel and Charlie, and I hope, as I've seen on the comments, that this might be another discussion that we have later on the road when more questions are answered. But thank you, really appreciate you folks, and the opportunity to explain and to try to help everybody understand what's happening at the airport, because Charlie has told me some nightmare stories of pregnant women trying to find parking and crying because they cannot find parking. So he let them park in some place that they weren't supposed to park so that they could get on the plane to get to the doctor in Oahu. And we just don't want to see that for all of the local people who can't find parking at the airport when they need to park and go on a trip. So thank you everyone, and I appreciate the opportunity.
And if I can interject one more time, well said,
Absolutely.
Representative Tokioka. I just wanted to say that we, as some of the people tonight on the panel, have been working how many weeks already and preparing for this, because we want to be able to answer the questions. We understand both sides of the spectrum, the airport parking lot and the businesses out there that do peer-to-peer. So I want to thank Representative Tokioka and Charlie and Mel, and also Craig and Councilman Carvalho for helping with this situation, because it's a collaborative work that we've come up with, and a solution that we believe will work to, I guess, I want to say, decongest the parking lot in Lihue Airport. And this is a good model, I want to say, that we'll be looking at to implement at the rest of the major airports as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Craig, I know you're on. You've been on. For some reason, your video isn't on, so you don't show up on the screen. But is there anything we can hear you? Is there anything you wanted to say before we sign off? Okay, I guess he's not on. All right, Charles.
Well, I would like to take this opportunity first and foremost to thank um, Director Higashi, Ross Higashi, for being on with us, Senate State Rep uh, Jimmy Tokioka, as well as Councilman Bernard Cavallo. And I'd like to send a special shout out to an individual that I work with on a day-to-day basis, and he's been an incredible. I mean, he's basically my boss when it comes to anything that happens at the Lihue Airport, Mr. Craig Davis, as well as Bruce Kaivi. Thank you so much for the direction. We're just an enforcement arm. And so for the folks that chimed in tonight, thank you so much for your questions. This wouldn't have been possible, but it is our goal to get, and I've said this many times over and over again. We try to put out as much as we can, try to get as much questions answered as we can. Okay, we're not gonna make everybody happy, but we sure as hell gonna try and make the majority of you happy, and we're gonna do it um, in a dignified way. We're not gonna bash anybody, because this subject will not go away. So we know that we still have to deal with it. But I think if we have a meeting of the minds, and we put everything out there, then I'm pretty sure we can arrive to a very reasonable place. And I hope and pray that happens. And to our villagers out there that's been watching, I know some of you are watching. Your name hasn't been popping up, but you folks watch. You know that I love you all. Thank you for joining us. Tonight was a little different show, but I hope and pray that we were able to continue to offer this service where we can bring out subjects like this to the forefront to everyone, so they can be well informed. So with that said, I turn it back over to you, Mel.
Thank you, Charlie. And again, thank you to our panelists. Bernard has not returned, but he's out. I know he had another engagement. He was going to try and make it back. Craig is still on. We cannot hear or see him. Just want to thank you all for this. And I know this is a touchy subject for many, and it doesn't have to be. We can make this work, and I appreciate you guys all working together to do this. But in everything we do, there, one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. Remember that old Donny Osmond song? One bad
Hmm.
apple can spoil the whole bunch. The problem we're having today is because we have bad apples out there that are making it rough for everybody else. It's the ones that are leaving their trash behind. It's the ones that are parking where they're not supposed to park. That's only going to force consequences to be enforced. This is the deal. I'm going to open up my screen so you guys can see. 250. It was $100 administrative fee. The 250 was what, Ross? I forget
The two
already. It
fifty
was
is for the courtesy vehicle. The 100 is for the administrative fee, and 20 is per vehicle in the fleet. All annual charges.
okay. Annual. $370 annually divided by 12. $30.83 a month. That is tax deductible because it is a legitimate business expense. Please, people, if you guys want to make it convenient for you and for your customers, go get the permit. Go get the permit and do it legally. I just imagine if we just $30 a month, man, less than your coffee bill, your Starbucks coffee bill. So let's think about doing what we need to do to make sure that it's everyone gets the benefit from this wonderful business opportunity for our local people, because it is a great opportunity for our local people to make money and keep that money on Kauai. I've said that enough times tonight. So I hope this was valuable for all of you. Again, if you have questions that was not answered tonight, private message me, or you can private message Charlie, and we will get that. Charlie can probably answer most of it. If he cannot, we'll send it off to where we need to go, it needs to go, so we can get you your answers, so we can have this transition, this wonderful opportunity flourish here on Kauai and the rest of the state. All right, guys. Thank you all again. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Friday's Kamehameha Day. I don't know if we will have a show. I'll let you guys know tomorrow. I'm thinking we're going to honor Kamehameha Day, but we'll let you guys know. All right, guys.
Hey,
You guys take
Mel,
care.
Mel,
Yo,
Mel.
yo,
Before you
yo.
go, because of our esteemed guest, you notice how professional I was tonight. But I can't let it go without showing one of my sponsors, Skittles. So I'm bringing it on now, so you know what I'm going to enjoy. So anyway, thank you, Mel.
Ross, as you look and fire him, right? You cannot. Yeah, Craig. He said you're his boss. Fire this guy. He
Cut you.
ban Skittles from the airport. You guys should ban Skittles from the airport. This guy is too much. All right, y'all. You guys take care. Aloha. God bless. We love you guys. Hey,
Yep.
okay. People asking about the permit. I tell you what I'll do. I will get the permit link and I will post it on my page, so you guys will all get notified. Make sure your notifications on. Hey, don't forget, follow me. Don't forget, this is on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel. You can watch the replay. and subscribe. All right, guys, you guys take care. God bless. We'll see you guys later.
Okay,
Aloha.